All right, hello YouTube. We are back. I've been on a bit of a hiatus. It was not a planned hiatus. It was not a hiatus I wanted to do. But this is more or less the first time I've been back for about a week or so. But I haven't had internet since like last Saturday. I then got sick, so it's been a very interesting week. Very odd week in general. But, you know, we're here. I'm excited for the future, given that, you know, there's going to be some things that I will have more free time to do. How's the Dragons coming back? Really excited about the future. But I thought, okay, what did I do? All right, there we go. Drop that back. But we'll be doing a little bit of a Winds of Winter, House of the Dragon Season 2, just kind of a chill Q&A live stream. I'm going to hit some Discord questions that I was asked. So if you did want to ask some questions, and for stream specifically, there's always a thing on there for that. But hi, Maws, how are you? Jim, how are you? Let me know how your guys' day is going. But yeah, just a very interesting time getting to the closing of the semester for me. Also, if you guys see me pause or whatever, it's just because I'm kind of still recovering from an ear infection. It's kind of gotten into my nose now. But yeah. But we're going to be talking Winds of Winter and A Song of Ice and Fire. So, or why did I say it like that? Winds of Winter and HOTD. So, let's go to some questions. So, a question that I was asked on the Discord for stream was, will Jaime Lannister survive from Lady Stoneheart? I think she will. I think given the fact that Jaime is a character that I don't think his fate is tied to like Catelyn or Lady Stoneheart. And I think he needs to see Cersei at least one more time. I feel like there is something still there that's needed to complete the story of Jaime and Cersei. So I think for me personally, I also think you look at Jaime and Tyrion, I think there's just some things that are unresolved there, that if Jaime was to die without those things happening, it'd be kind of a bittersweet ending to the story for Jaime. So personally, I don't think so. I think Jaime could be a character that is someone that gives us a POV into the slaughter of family members, into this Revenge Red Wedding. So I think there's some interesting things we're going to explore with Jaime. Probably can't stay long. I'm at work. All good, Maws. All good. Hi, Dirty Dan. How are you? The return of the king has come. Hi, Matthew. Welcome back to stream. I know Ashley will be happy that you're back. But yeah, also, as you guys are coming in the stream, let me know how you guys are doing. I feel like no one has acknowledged how terrible of an acronym that is. It's literally, hold on. It's literally HOTD. I love it, dude. I love it. Also, okay, this is something I want to discuss. Before we get into more questions on Winds of Winter, I want to ask you guys' opinion. Because I think for me personally, given what my degree is, what I'm studying, and kind of how I look at it from more of like a realistic point of view, what do you guys think of the marketing in terms of House of the Dragon Season 2? Like, I've seen a lot of Song of Ice and Fire YouTubers on Twitter just being like, oh, well, I don't want to choose, or they're not like getting the purpose of the story. And where I agree in the point that that's not the point of the story, House of the Dragon, I think, understands that. I feel like Ryan Condal, the writers, understand that. It's not about that. It's just the marketing, right? Like, they are given a slam dunk in terms of marketing. You make a green trailer, you make a black trailer. It's similar in terms of like, I think the perfect example is Iron Man versus Captain America, Captain America Civil War. That was perfect marketing. And so what they did was they basically copied that and pasted it here. And so for me, someone that understands why they would do that, it's great for marketing. And like, just like Violet talks about it, it's getting people to talk about it on Twitter, getting people to talk about it on Instagram, YouTube, whatever, getting people to be invested with these characters because you want to see who's going to win. It's a similar idea of Game of Thrones when they were basically running that ad of who was going to sit the Iron Throne. Is it going to be Dany? Is it going to be Jon? Is it going to be whoever, right? It's a similar type thing, except you're basically making it two sides, more or less. And so I think the marketing is fantastic for the show so far. I think the buzz has really been good. I think the trailers are pretty good. But yeah, I think, we'll just have to see on what the quality of the show is going to be like. Of course, it's not all marketing, but I think they did a really good job bringing people back in. Of course, Matthew, I'm happy that you're back. Of course. You are the GOAT mod, and you'll always be the GOAT mod. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to bring that up because I think some people are missing the mark in terms of why they did that, why they released two different trailers, why they do a Team Green, why they do a Team Black trailer, because that's just kind of how you're going to do it. Like, that's like what you were originally going to do with this show. That was the purpose of it. You build up these two sides, but in the process of that, what do? Like, you show that both sides are not great. Like, you show that both sides are willing to commit awful crimes and how each side justifies those actions, or how they try to live with those actions. I find that very fascinating. Hi Ghost, how are you? Also, people are already on a side, so why not lean? Exactly, right? Like, people are already picking sides. And that's the thing, is it's like, as of right now, right? If you're somebody that hasn't watched, or maybe not watched, if you're somebody that hasn't read Fire and Blood, there hasn't been a ton that has happened yet that's like, oh boy, that was a really bad thing that's happened yet. There hasn't been a lot of like really big war crimes or things like that. The one you would point to was like Aemond killing Luke, but the way that they justify that in the show is, well, that was an accident. That wasn't supposed to happen. So you can kind of justify, okay, why would you be a Green supporter? You can kind of justify why you'd be a Black supporter because Rhaenyra was named to be the heir, but then they're trying to make it to where it's like a little bit more even. I don't know if it's really working, given that I've seen most people are Team Black, but it is interesting a little bit. Why would you say it's making the fandom a bit toxic, in my opinion, Ghost? I'm curious to see your rationale. Like, are you saying that's because people don't like, or you're saying it's like separating the fandom? In terms of you have to be Team Black or you have to be Team Green or else, like, type thing. Like, for me personally, I will always be Team Black because Rhaenyra is my favorite Targaryen. Damon is one of my favorite Targaryens. So, of course, I'm going to be on their side. But in terms of, like, actuality, neither side is right. Right? Like, this brutal conflict gets innocents killed. It's creating a war on the scale of the entire continent. It's detrimental for the actual people of Westeros. It's detrimental even for the Targaryen dynasty. The Dance of the Dragons is a no-win situation for anyone. Now, you could justify saying that the people of Westeros don't have to have dragons in the future because, the event kills the dragons, basically. But at the same time, like, to me, for the most part, right, like, it is one of those things where it's like, for the long term, it's like, it's probably better for Westeros not having dragons, but in the short term, at the same time, it's, a lot of people are dying. HOTD ruined any chance of me being a Green supporter. Why is that, Matthew? I'm curious as to why you would say that. Given as, because I think Fire and Blood, the Green side, I think... The problem with, I think, the Fire and Blood adaptation to House of the Dragon type thing was, in Fire and Blood, both sides are much more extreme, right? Like, both sides are much more unlikable, right? You have both sides doing actions that are viewed as not very good, right? Like, Rhaenyra is a character that's not Rhaenyra in the show. Rhaenyra in the book is someone that's much more brutal. She is someone that's a little bit more cruel than she is in the show. Allison is someone that's not as, like, indecisive. She's very, it seems like she's very sure in her ways. She's definitely knows what she's doing, trying to put Aegon on the throne. And so you have a bunch of characters, I think, in Fire and Blood that you see their flaws. They're on full display. But with that being said, the Greens don't have a lot of redeeming qualities in Fire and Blood outside of, like, Daeron. That's fair. That's fair, Matthew, as well, right? So I think the one thing that season 1 struggled with in terms of how do you make the Greens more likable or interesting is because you took them out of that element that they are in Fire and Blood, where Fire and Blood, they seem more sure of themselves, or they seem a bit more competent, right? In the show, you had to change things to fit what they were trying to do, and so it made those characters less than in some ways. Like, right, like Allison is a exception to that rule, because I think Allison for the first, I talk about this all the time. Allison, to me, of the first 8 episodes was outside of Viserys, was probably the best written character of season 1. It's the problem with Allison came in the very end of episode 8 and episode 9, where you had a character that just, it seems like they completely broke themselves. Like when you get to the Green Council and it's this idea that Allison didn't think they were grooming Aegon to be on the throne, that doesn't make sense given her actions in the past. So, sorry guys, I'm coughing a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I agree. I think some things they did for the Greens made them, I might have to get a drink of water. Hold on. Oh boy. The Greens just became, they try to make the Greens more likable while making the Blacks also more likable. But what it did is it didn't actually equal out, right? Because in terms of it, in the story, already the Blacks, I think, come off of more favorably in Fire and Blood. So by just making them both more likable, you end up having the Blacks, who are your clear heroes for the most part, outside of Damon. And you have the Greens, so it's like, yeah, they're a bit more humanized, but they're just not as interesting in a lot of ways, I think is kind of what season 1 ran into. And so I think season 2, why I'm excited for season 2, is we're going to take this chance to get all the feedback from season 1. And we're going to be able to slow down, right? Given the information that I've been told, I think she is a character, or not, I read a comment before I started going, but we're going to be able to stay with these characters longer, right? We're going to be able to really dive into their psychology. How do they react to an event that happens, right? So, for book readers, when Blood and Cheese happens, how do our characters react, right? So we can have a Game of Thrones type show where the Red Wedding happens and we see how Tyrion reacts to it. We see how Sansa reacts to it. We see how Arya reacts to it. We see how Jon reacts to it. We have all those things. And so that can change the characters fundamentally, which is great because we're going to be able to see that, right? Because in this season, we're going to be a much slower pace in terms of like the actual plot of Fire and Blood. We're going to be able to expand things, see more. And that's something that I think is really good for this season and something it has going for it as well. Allison is a beautiful bird of flame who can change her colors. Have you guys been looking at the props in the show? These people aren't people. I haven't looked too much into the props, April. She literally screamed in Aegon's face that he's the challenge. Them making Allison seem confused makes me just think she's stupid, not sympathetic. Exactly, Violet. Like, my thing with the character of Allison and why I always, I didn't like Allison in the book because, she's Team Green. She's usurping Rhaenyra. But I respected the character because it was a very well-written character and how she went about things, right? The dynamics and the different ways of viewing how to play the game between the Blacks and the Greens was always something that fascinated me. And so I think what you're talking about is we see too much of Allison being in a position where it seems like she's setting up them to be on the throne after Viserys dies. Right? It's not just Otto. The way it's kind of portrayed in episode 9 is it's like Otto is the person trying to get Aegon on the throne, and then Allison's kind of conflicted, I guess. I don't know. That's the thing that doesn't really make sense to me. Right? And then also if Allison was really conflicted, right? Viserys in his dying breath and being all drugged up says the prince that was promised and mentioned something like Aegon, but he's never mentioned anything like that to Allison before in his life, and she takes that as, oh, Aegon should be on the throne. It's one of those things where it's like you can take it a couple ways. One is Allison was looking for any sign for Aegon to be on the throne. Second, is she was just putting on a show. Aegon, she wanted Aegon on the throne regardless. Like, I don't know. It's just really difficult. It's very difficult in terms of how do you judge Allison in episodes 9 and going forward. Shout out to you, Muhammad. Thank you for the support. Big love back as well. Hi Ashley, how are you? Do you think that Dany will be back to life, or be the Red God in Jon Snow show if that happened? So I think the Jon Snow show got canceled, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't think Dany is coming back. No, I think if they were going to do a Jon Snow show, the only way we would see Emilia Clarke or Daenerys would be in some sort of like flashback or some sort of vision, or he's seeing her, like it's some kind of mental thing. I shall, April, I shall. House of Dragon has completely rearranged my brain. The name Allison is always Allison now. Fair enough, Twist. Good ideas, April. I like it. Not to go dropping dimes, but someone around here might have encouraged me to usurp your crown. Oh boy. No idea who that. Nope. I don't know. Where's Harold Westerling? He's pulling a Barristan. He's going to Essos. Do you think that Aemond One-Eye is the father of the little kids from his sister? Interesting. So this is a very interesting question, given that I think this was way more built up in the show than it was in the book Fire and Blood. And so this is something that I think would be really interesting to explore in season 2, is what is that relationship like between Aemond and Helaena? How does he treat like her kids, for instance? So for me personally, I'm going to say no, but I think that's something that's interesting that they could explore going forward. Hi, Matthew. How are you? I'm a little sick, so bear with me. All right, I'm going to go back to my questions on Discord. Will anyone at King's Landing find out Lady Stoneheart is Catelyn? So the problem with this is going to be, how many people are going to realize it's Catelyn, and how does that information spread? Because as of right now, Catelyn is still assumed dead. Nobody really knows outside of the Brotherhood Without Banners who she is. Brienne now knows who she is, and Jaime will presumably as well soon enough. So yeah, I think it's very possible, right? Like, all it takes is Brienne or Jaime talking to someone at King's Landing, and, you know, it'll spread. And I think eventually, as the story goes on, that will kind of spread. And it kind of gets into your next question. Will Sansa, Arya, or Jon Snow find out? And yes, they definitely will. Based upon the fact that Brienne is going, or already knows that it is, you also have the fact that Arya is probably, I think, going to be the one that kills Lady Stoneheart. So even if that doesn't come to fruition, right? So let's say that Brienne is the only one that knows. Brienne probably will tell Sansa and Arya, given that it's part of her oath, and that would then go to Jon. I'm very interested to see how Jon would react to Lady Stoneheart, given Catelyn and Jon's past. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions while I'm going through Discord, let me know. Let me see if I've got any more here. Anything else I want to go with questions for stream? All right, let's go to the other questions. So Rat asks, what do you think would happen if Ned, instead of confessing to treason before being beheaded, had ousted the incest thing to the crowd? So I think the interesting part here is I don't think it would have mattered, right? Like, I think it would have changed how Ned maybe could have been viewed, but not really, right? Think about this crowd already. They were they weren't power hungry, but they were hungry for blood. Ned saying that, oh, Joffrey was born of incest wouldn't have mattered to them, right? Maybe to some people, and maybe that rumor would have spread quicker. But you got to remember, Stannis does the same rumor, right? It's about how the people are being treated. If the people are living in luxury, they're eating well, they're able to afford food and living, they don't really care. But when it comes to, oh, King's Landing starving, you have a riot, all of that stuff, well, then maybe you accept those rumors more. So I personally don't think Ned actually getting a different send-off does nothing for the actual story. What it would do is it would keep Ned's, like, honor intact, I guess, but, you know. Will Jon Snow be more vengeful? That's a good question. So I actually am making a video. It was going to come out this weekend, but I probably won't be able to have time because this is the first time that I've actually, like, sat down and been able to, like, talk without dying. But I think something that's interesting about when Jon comes back, there's a lot of circumstances we have to evaluate other than just, oh, him being dead for a while or in Ghost's body is going to change his personality. Think about the circumstances of his death, right? Betrayed by all of his brothers, people he has to basically say are kin to him. That is going to take a toll on you psychologically. Like, how does that make your paranoia, right? You also have the fact of what was happening beforehand, right? Where the Boltons have taken Winterfell, they send this letter to Jon. How is that going to impact that character of Jon Snow? And so I think you put all of that together in a situation where Jon, being in his wolf for so long, is going to change him, make him a bit more animalistic, maybe more impulsive. And also another thing, I mean, I think Alt Shift X does a great job of describing this, is that Jon is not like this hero character. Like, he is a hero, but he has the ability to make things that are maybe not morally as great. And so when you take a look at all those things in conjunction, there is definitely a chance that Jon comes back and is much more of like an anti-hero type character. But, you know, I'd be all for a vengeful Jon, more edgy and less beholden to people. Give the posers a middle finger. Yes, that would be cool. I just wanted Jon to have a little streak of white/silver hair when he comes back, and I'll be happy. That'd be cool. Show off his Targaryenness. That'd be pretty cool. Jon is already the Night King in the books. That is why they killed him. Interesting idea. Interesting idea. But yeah, no, I think that's a very fascinating topic, because I think one comment that I saw on the last Dany video, and I really struggled with the Dany title for the Winds of Winter, like, question video we did, was what was I going to title it? And so I titled it, you know, what I've already titled another video before, Will She Go Mad? Because a lot of people ask questions or kind of around that idea, but somebody brought up an idea that we never really talk about, you know, Dan, or we never talk about Jon in terms of, like, could he go mad, right? He's also presumably a Targaryen. He's going to have some other stuff going on. It's really interesting the way that, you know, we only talk about Dany in that circumstance because of the show, right? I think if the show wasn't a thing, we would not talk about it as much. So I thought that was an interesting point. I did want to make a video about that. Nobody talks about Maegor Brightflame. Hey, I talk about your namesake Maegor quite a lot. I do that a lot. The Targaryen blood and making him have that connection with with Ghost and the Weirwood. Yeah, there's just a lot of magical things going on with Jon, right? Like, he is that perfect culmination of having, you know, Targaryen magic in his blood, old Valyria, plus the old gods. A very interesting mix. Been doing my reread, and a character I'm fascinated with now more than ever is Darkstar. What's his arc going forward? Oh, okay, I can already see Ashley typing. Darkstar is a character that I don't have a hard opinion of what's going on with Darkstar. He feels like a character that George put in and is kind of waiting or gardening with this character. I don't know what his purpose in the story is. outside of maybe he gives Dawn to Jon, maybe he leads some sort of uprising in the Reach, trying to take some sort of power. I think he could be a character that poses a lot of threats to Arianne and Doran, given he's going to know a lot of the truth about what is going to happen, right? Remember, he was part of Arianne's party, so he knows what happened with Myrcella. He knows what the Dornish are kind of up to in a bit, so he could be someone that definitely could be a thorn in their side. He could be someone that allies with Aegon or Fagon in the books. All those things are very possible as well. Do you think that House of the Dragon will be faithful to the book? So I'm going to word this the best I can without saying too much, because there are things I already know about the season that will be different. And I don't know how the community is going to react to it, but it will not be like a perfect adaptation. There will definitely be big changes that I think I have to see how they play out to judge them, because I only know, like, right now it's like I know like an event like Dany goes mad, right, for Game of Thrones, but I don't know how they execute that. So that's where I'm kind of sitting at with some of the things I know about House of the Dragon before, you know, it actually comes out. So I'm going to say hopefully they stick pretty closely to the Fire and Blood, but I won't sit here and say it's going to be like, you know, perfect. I think Fagon could go mad. That scene of him upending the Savas board upon realizing he lost the game and screaming at Tyrion to pick up the mess gives me Aerys, let him be king of ashes vibes. Yeah, I think that's another part. That's why I predict a lot of the times when Aegon takes the throne, I think he is going to be a character that is going to be very arrogant. He's a young kid taking the throne at this young age. He's going to be someone viewing a lot of other people as like, what did you do for me? Like, he is someone that is going to feel like, I'm the one that took the throne. I will have the throne, no exceptions type of thing. Again, I think that's going to play a crucial part in how he and Dany interact for the first time. Dorne is a hellscape. I agree. Yes, Violet. I think that's a great way of putting it. I think a lot of the big events that we know are going to happen, but it's how do we get there and how are they executed? That's where I think we're going to have, you know, some look at it, right? Talk about it and all of that. I think something else that we saw with season 1 is, right, like season 1, it kind of had the opposite. How we got there usually was pretty good. It was usually the endings. So that's something I hope that in season 2, they do way better at, is how are we ending episodes? Are they making logical sense? How are we changing things? But yeah. I will bet money Jace takes the dagger to Winterfell next season. I don't think so, April. I don't think so, personally. Given what Rhaenyra knows about the dagger, I don't think it would make sense to give it to Jace to then take to Winterfell. I don't see that one a little bit. Yes, hit the likes. We love to see that. Hi, Random Stuff. How are you? Hi, Jared. How are you? The Catspaw is one of the biggest yikes in fanfic. No matter how that event is handled, people complain to the author that nothing. I disagree. I 100% disagree. I think the Catspaw, like, are we talking about the sequence of events that happens or the dagger and its significance? The Catspaw dagger to me is something that I've never really understood why it's such a big thing. It's really just, oh, okay, Robert has this dagger that's Valyrian steel, whatever. It's not that big of a deal to him. He has it in all these weapons. He's the king. Little trifles like that wouldn't matter. Okay. Joffrey taking it because it looks cool, whatever. Arms, and also he's an idiot. Arms this guy to kill Bran because he wants approval from his dad, who his dad gives him no attention, and boopity bop. There you go. Like, you know, I think it all fits into place that way, but, you know. How am I slandering Darkstar, Ashley? I didn't say anything negative about the character. Um, March. So I'll just put it bluntly. Anything I've seen from George's Blog within the last like year and a half has not been positive. I know people have looked into that post he made, and to me that just tells me he's not in a very good place. So, but why would he take it there? Like, this is my problem, April, with that idea, is he doesn't know Winterfell is going to side with them. Like, yes, it's a likely idea, but think about the way that that plan is done. Luke goes to Storm's End because it's supposed to be the safest route. Jace is supposed to go to Winterfell because it's the more difficult one. He's the older brother. So, like, that already kind of, I don't really like that idea. Hi, Zeno, how are you? I'm actually not sure who has the dagger, Matthew. I think that since the timeline won't have to be sped up due to them covering a smaller portion of the book this time, that the endings of episodes, yeah, that's kind of my hope, Jared, right? Is that we kind of slow down a little bit. We won't have to have as many time skips or jarring things. They can really, do well. Oh no, you're good, April. Everybody is feel free to express your opinions. I'm just giving you my opinion. How is Rhaenyra's biggest simp doing after trailer? I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited. I wish we would have seen more Rhaenyra. I wanted to see like just some like inclination that Rhaenyra is gonna stop being very one note. Like she's gonna actually dive into some sort of psychological issues, or she's gonna be more ruthless or cruel. I want to see something from the character. That's what I want to see in season 2. My big goal from season 2 is to develop Rhaenyra as a character, because season 1 took a lot away in terms of Rhaenyra's darker side, and that's not what I want to see. I also know they're doing something with the northern plot in terms of relating it to the prophecy. I don't know how I feel about that. I've never really liked that idea. The idea with the dagger prophecy or Aegon's dream prophecy has never sat well with me. It just feels like it was shoehorned in at the last second, or it's something George thought of after the fact. So I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if Joffrey was trying to stage a drowning when he was getting Sansa drunk to stop Ned from coming to King's Landing, since attacking Bran didn't stop him. Okay, all right. Aegon has it? Okay, cool. Hey, I'm going off of Rhaenyra's logic. Rhaenyra's logic is that Storm's End is the safest. I think she thinks it's the safest in terms of like allies. Like who is going to back them the easiest, given that, again, Rhaenys is part Baratheon herself. The Baratheons have been, from what we can tell, right, outsider point of view, are loyal to, you would assume, Rhaenyra. But that did not end up being the case. Again, Rhaenyra doesn't really know Cregan Stark. Remember, he's very young at this time. So that would be the one where it's like, yeah, the Starks hold a lot of vows very seriously, but this is also a younger man. Like, this is someone that you don't know. You don't know what he's going to be like, right? So, again, the same thing applies to the Baratheons as well, but, you know. Absolutely see Rhaenyra plays a much bigger role in the action. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they do Rhaenyra as a character, right? Because given where we are in the story in Fire and Blood, compared to where she is in House of the Dragon, she's a much different character. Like, Rhaenyra in the book is much more of a broken character at this point of the story. And that basically allows a lot of different actions and things to happen. And it'll be interesting to see how they do that, because they didn't really build up to that at all in season 1. Like, they did some things, and here and there you would see some things with Rhaenyra that were good. We saw glimpses of it, like with her father Viserys in episode 8, where she's basically pleading to him for help. She's breaking down. That's the kind of stuff I want to see happen more with Rhaenyra, like showing her as more of a emotional character, things that are much more similar to her in the book. That's what I really want from the character. Um, Daron will be in this season. Fans were saying he wasn't going to be in it. I mean, so far, what I've seen, Zeno, Daron is not going to be in this season. Like, from what I've seen. He hasn't, there's been no casting announcement for the character from what I've seen. He's not in the trailer. So I don't know. Oh, I'd love to see Daron, but that could be vital. That's a really good point. What if the real Rhaenyra was the friends we made along the way? Oh, there ain't gonna be many friends left after this war, so you know. Yeah, like that's the point that I'm trying to make with Baelor saying is like she had a really good relationship with the last Baratheon lord. Boros is a much different person, and there's a lot going on. They didn't even really do the Maester conspiracy type thing that the book does. The book is very suspicious on why he's so angry at Rhaenyra's letter. That's a big part of Maester conspiracy. But yeah. What would have happened if Rhaenys went to Storm's End instead? It would have been different because for one, if I don't think that Aemond would have like attacked Rhaenys or gone after her. And so I think it would have been very different in terms of Rhaenyra would have been much more intact as a character. She wouldn't have been as broken over Luke's death, that it would have allowed her to do more actions. And Rhaenys is also smart. I don't think they would have gotten the Baratheons. I think Boros was already, he had made his bed. But I do think it would have actually changed quite a lot. Song of Ice and Fire trailer has been going crazy. Yes, sir. Fair enough. I mean, I think the way I always interpreted Aegon's conquering Westeros was Aegon conquered it for a couple reasons. One, to unite the country. Again, constant warring. A part of it was for power, to kind of create another Valyria type deal. I never saw it as, he was motivated solely off of like the prophecy. Now, maybe it goes hand in hand, right? We just don't know. Maybe it's one of those things where Aegon was kind of already planning to kind of do this, but then the prophecy also kind of backed up what he wanted to do in general. Yeah, more Velaryon, like more House Velaryon scenes always are good for me. I think, I think the House Velaryon had some of the best cast actors of season 1, and we just didn't get enough of them, and that's the really unfortunate part, especially with Laena. I think Laena, the actress that played her, really, I wish they would have given the character more to do. She did a very good job. I as well, Ashley. I as well. It also seems like from the trailer they changed when Corlys is made a Hand of the King, so that's another interesting point that we might get to see in the show. That is also another point, Matthew. That's interesting. That is true, Ashley. That's a great point. Like, I think Boris would have been way more hospitable to Rhaenys given her blood. I don't know. I really hope we don't see the White Walkers in season 2. Same. For me personally, I already was kind of like, I didn't need the Aegon's prophecy stuff in season 1. It just felt very unnecessary. It felt like we were trying to connect House of the Dragon with Game of Thrones. I didn't want to be reminded of that. I don't really feel like trying to like complete, House of the Dragon with Game of Thrones. I get why they're doing it. I just don't think you need to. And so reminding people of the White Walkers and where that ends up going is just like, why? Why? Also, good meme, Chan. Good meme. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's a very good point, Ghost. I don't really want to see that either. Also, Rat did ask something else when in terms of like the Ned confessing of treason before being beheaded, and he didn't do that. Again, I don't think Sansa would have been killed. It would be extremely stupid if they killed Sansa. It eliminates Ned's death already eliminates really any chance of peace, really. But in reality, if you killed Sansa, it'd be even worse. Are the tier lists done? No, they are not. We will be getting back to those at a certain point. And I will be streaming more this for the summer, putting out hopefully better content because I'll have more time. But yeah, we don't need a tie-in with the main series, especially with the show. I don't think people need / want a reminder of the show. We just want the universe. Yeah, that's the whole point, Violet. I think that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, I want this story. I don't need this extra stuff that doesn't relate to this story, really. And that's the biggest problem, is because they introduced that, you then had to have some sort of resolution, and that being a big point of why the Dance Dragons actually happened. Because when you think about it, Allison in the show, hearing this prophecy, Aegon's prophecy, is what leads her to make Aegon the king. That, to me, I hate that. I really hate that. I hate that it takes away from, okay, the characters were actually playing a Game of Thrones. They were doing all these things. It boils down a lot of the actual interesting motivations that were going on a little bit. The Maesters are teaming up with the Greens, and I love the importance that it stands with the Green. Yeah, the Maesters are definitely with the Greens, right? Like, Old Town being the capital of the Maesters, where they get all their learning, where they're trained. It's quite clear, at least at this time frame, during this part of the story of A Song of Ice and Fire and the histories, there's a lot of manipulating going on. There's a lot of things, especially the lead up. I think the lead up to the Dance of the Dragons, you see a lot of it. I want to see if Bran will still hold the C. I think in a Dance of the Dragons, Bran, he will get at least a B. All right, we need to blow the nose part of the stream. All right. I think it's interesting that Aemon doesn't appear remorseful for killing Luke in the trailer. Given that they're going with the accident, it seems an odd choice to have him unaffected. So, Ashley, this is the way I think they're going to do it, to where it fits Fire and Blood. I think this is a decent way to do it. I still like the idea of Aemon just killing Luke out of revenge and spite and pride. They're going to have it where Aemon says that he wanted to kill Luke because he doesn't want to show weakness, right? In this world, we talk about this really toxic way men are told to behave and grow up, and what a man is in this world. And so I think Aemon will come off as, yeah, I wanted to kill Luke. Because if he doesn't, what he then has to explain is that he didn't have control of Vhagar, and that Vhagar killed Luke. That's a different thing, because it makes it seem like Aemon is not as in control. And so I think if they do that idea, where it's like something where Aemon in public seems fine, unchanged by this event, but then in private, like we can see some things with Aemon in private where he thinks about what's happening. That would be interesting. Nose blowing ASMR? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think they'll use it to build on the Pact of Ice and Fire, but it makes it feel more significant. But I agree, we don't need it. Yeah, I just don't think it's a necessary part of the story. Crazy how Rhaenyra thought she had some support in the Stormland. She underestimated Boris Baratheon's ambition, and he is not his father. Also, Kristen Cole is from the Stormlands. Yeah, I think one thing that Rhaenyra does that is detrimental, and they didn't really explore this too much in the show, but it's much more clear in the story, is that Rhaenyra changes as a character. When she was younger, she's the delight. She's the light of the realm. You know, everybody loves her, right? She stops kind of doing those royal progresses, right? She kind of stops. She doesn't actually really even begin them, really, but she needed to like establish herself more as the ruler to come, right? Like she needed to do what Jaehaerys was doing and how he cemented his rule perfectly. Rhaenyra needed to do that, right? Now, Viserys, he could have established her rule way better, but Rhaenyra also did not do those things to establish herself as the next ruler. I hope so, Matthew. I hope so. But yeah. So a lot of interesting things going into season 2. Viserys should have abdicated the instant his health took a turn. Yeah, this is another thing that Viserys does not do that he should have done. As soon as he starts, having health issues, especially in the show's canon, because it's much more apparent. He's in a much different condition in terms of the way the book does it. But in the show, what should have ended up happening is that Viserys should have put Rhaenyra on the throne. He should have made her the ruling queen. Basically what Allison and Otto were doing in around episode 8-7. That's what we should have seen with Rhaenyra, right? It would have given her more time to establish herself on the throne, given her a sense of legitimacy, and just put that all to bed, right? But why doesn't Viserys do that? And that's why it's so interesting, is because he doesn't want to upset his wife. He doesn't want to upset, his kids. He doesn't want to upset Otto. Because Viserys, and very similar to Aenys, is someone that didn't want to upset people. And that's made kind of crystal clear in the show. In the book, he just comes off as a lazy, bad king. Yes, Violet, of course. If she did want Rhaenyra to take over after him, that's what she should have, or what he should have done, right? And if he changed his mind, he shouldn't have left it open-ended, right? He should have said, yeah, okay, you know what? I've changed my mind. Aegon is the king. Because then it's okay, Rhaenyra, you've lost all support, right? Nobody can justify backing you now. Even your own father has made Aegon the king to come next, right? But yeah, Damon also should have been hand. I 100% agree. I 100% agree. You should have put in place a position in which there is no civil war after you die. You should have made sure that peace was established. Yes. The idea of Damon and Viserys ruling together could have been a very good one. And it's something that just never happens, unfortunately. It kind of reminds me of a better version of Aenys and Maegor. Maegor was kind of the iron fist for Aenys at the beginning of his rulership, when the two kind of reconcile. And so what that could have been basically the same thing that happens with Damon and Viserys. But the thing that tied those two together, very different from Maegor and Aenys, is the two had a relationship. They cared about each other. Whereas Aenys and Maegor, it just seems like they didn't have much of a relationship. It seemed like Aenys just wanted to please his half-brother, and Maegor didn't really feel like he had a connection to Aenys at all. Man, I wish Reira was alive during the dance. He would laugh in the faces of both Aegon and Rhaenyra. I spit on Targaryens. Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. But in that situation, Robert's rebellion doesn't happen. And so he wouldn't have had that much of a problem with the Targaryens. Biggest thing is Damon loves Viserys. Yes. In his own weird way, he does. I hope HOTD takes POVs of people of the kingdom to the dance. I like what Renly said about the dance in season 1 while hunting. I agree. I've read theories that people think they're going to merge Raina and Nettles into one. Thoughts on this? I don't really like it, but I do like the idea of Nettles being a bastard of Damon rather than a lover. So the interesting part is if that goes down, right? So let's think about that. What does that do? Well, inherently, you already have a big problem in terms of Rhaenyra's main reason why her and Damon kind of have this big split is because she looks to imprison Nettles, right? Separate Nettles and Damon because she believes through rumors and things that Nettles and Damon are sleeping together. And so if this is Damon's daughter, how does that work? That doesn't seem to make any sense. And so either in one regard, you're going to have Rhaenyra just be in a really stupid state to where she just doesn't think about that, or you're going to have to change it. There's going to be some sort of other event that makes the two really split off from each other. Now, is that going to be because she sees some of the actions Damon takes, blood and cheese? Maybe she's not happy by that at all, right? She hates that. So it's one of those things where if that does occur, there's question marks that are left there that, like, yes, I can see positives and negatives. It's just how they execute it, right? I think giving Damon more of a father figure with Raina would be awesome, right? I think that's way better than the idea of Nettles and the love stuff there. But that's my thing, right? Is I always saw Damon and Nettles as being father-daughter type relationship, not a lust type relationship. So I don't know. It'd be interesting if that happens, if that is done correctly. Do you think Viserys sold his body? It's been a big theory for some time. I don't think so personally, but I don't think it's a bad idea. Ugh. All right, guys, that is going to be the end of the stream. Thank you guys for all your questions. Nice little talk about House of the Dragon and, you know, Song of Ice and Fire in general. Some interesting theories posed today, always by April, as always. By some others as well. Ashley, always throwing in some good ones. There's a channel here on YouTube that covers spoilers, and he says they are casting Nettles, but not until season 3. Interesting. I don't know how they're going to do that. April, why are you being sorry? You get some good ideas. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know how they're going to introduce Nettles in season 3 when Dragon Seed stuff happens in season 2. You would assume, but yeah, thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you guys